Hello all, and welcome to an episode of In-Car Series Season 3, Episode 13. So, it's the usual drill if you know what the In-Car Series is like. I was going to mention about the Mandela effect, a new one that I came across, that I came across personally, a personal one for me. In other words, it's not one that's been uploaded by someone else online, because some of the ones I could recognise, others I wouldn't know either way. This one is I've actually came across this earlier on this afternoon. So regarding a road that was at Yarrow Terrace in Munisil, there was I cycle around the scheme quite a bit anyway, just now and again actually, to be honest, and I know the scheme very well because I've lived there for all my life nearly. So I know exactly what roads were there, what roads were not there. And they recently bought a set of houses just down from the water tower a wee bit. And I clearly remember there was a junction where you could, a road junction where you could drive into this scheme off of Yarrow Terrace to the left. So if you were going up, this doesn't really mean anything to anybody that doesn't know the scheme, but I will show you some footage from the phone down there, because I took pictures earlier because I log strange anomalies in for my own records. But I remember that there was a road that came off of Yarrow Terrace that would have entered the new housing scheme. It's fairly new because it used to be student flats accommodation. Hillside Primary School used to be down from it, and the Munisil Water Tower, which is still there. Across the road was Munisil High School, both schools of which I went to, right the way from start to finish. Both schools have been bulldozed down, but that's another story. But it's basically, I've cycled that area quite a few, lost count the number of times over the number of years, so I know it very well. And there used to be a road, because there was a high curb on it. It was quite high, because I remember it was difficult bumping up and down on it with a bike. And earlier this afternoon I was going to the shop, the spar shop just down from it, on Old Glams Road, and I noticed that the road was no longer, the road end, the junction was no longer there. But strangely, I mean, I looked on Google Maps to see if I could see any like photos, well, you know, Google Maps images of it, perhaps taken before, whilst when the road end junction was there. But very oddly, in its own right, it's strange, because I went to the Street View, and it was updated a year ago, and it goes up the road, up Yarrow Terrace from Dixon Avenue, because Yarrow Terrace runs between Dixon Avenue and Tweed Crescent. So the camera van would have went up there, and to the bit in question where the junction used to be, it jumps from a year ago to 14 years ago. So it says no use, doesn't actually show anything. It does show the old student flats, which were bulldozed. It's no longer there. And then when you go to the Google image bird's eye view or satellite view, it shows the new houses. But when you pan down to go to the street view, it shows the student flat accommodations that were bulldozed about 8 years ago. The photo, the image, was taken from 14 years ago. So the student flats were obviously well and truly still in use at that point. So why on earth would it go from a year to 14 years? And just the bit in question that I needed to look at. And it was really odd, that. And then I went to the other side of the Google Maps, from the Tweed Crescent side up Yarrow Terrace towards Dixon Avenue. So the junction in question was on the left now. So it starts off from 3 years ago from Tweed Crescent. That's when it was updated. Go up Yarrow Terrace, it jumps to 7 years. I said, right, okay. The new houses were still, well, they were obviously new at that. I say new houses because it's, relatively speaking, they were built just about 7 or 8 years ago, so they were quite new then. So yeah, they would still be there. So I went up to the point where the junction was in question, and it jumps to 14 year again. But I was just able to catch, before it jumped to 14 year again, strangely, very oddly, I mean, why would it do that? The van's going up there anyway, so why not just have it 7 years or even a year on the other, when it was coming up for Dixon Avenue, the other way, going to Westwood Crescent, where the junction would be on the right. The junction in question would be on the right. I mean, it went from a year. Why did it jump to 14 years? I mean, if it was going up there anyway, why wouldn't it not just stay a year? You know, why would it not just be a year ago since it was updated, and it would show that that junction wasn't there? And then I would have went back on the timelines, you know, because you could go back on the Google timelines to see if there was ever, well, I know there was a junction, I know that, I don't need to question it because I remember it clearly, but I'd like to see if there was any photos of it showing what I clearly remember. But no. But on the other side from Tweed to Dixon, it was a 7-year-old image, and the new houses were just ahead of the water tower, and I was just able to make out that there's no junction there, which is extremely bizarre, because I clearly remember it. And if that photo was taken, well, that image was taken 7 years ago, it would seem there was never a junction there. The only time there was a junction there is when it was the student flat accommodations, and it shows that junction there from an image taken 14 years ago. So really, it's just absolutely bizarre. But there is Mandela effect residue. Now, because I've mentioned the Mandela effect on videos, I've got to say every time, but I feel as though I ought to. If you're interested in the Mandela effect, do your own research or searching into it and come to your own conclusions regarding it. There's lots of things online regarding it. It's up to you, come to your own conclusion. I say that every time. Anyway, it's because it's such a complex subject, it's so easy to dismiss. It's just, I suppose skeptics might just dismiss it as false memory or sci-fi or, you know, stuff like that, but it doesn't really matter. I don't need to convince anybody, because I know for a fact that I've experienced something that resembles the Mandela effect. There's a fair to online that resembles the Mandela effect. But I could show you on some of the photos that are taken in question. I'll photograph it, I'll film it from that phone here. So this is a Google Map image. That's the 7-year-old image, strangely, because when I go further than that, it jumps to 14-year-old. The junction was roughly where they two were. It's blocked out anyway, you won't know who they are, so there's no problem with that. But the junction was, the road end junction was definitely there. But I could make out that there isn't one. There's no any evidence whatsoever on that image that there's a road going to the left, and that's a 7-year-old image. This is the images, photos that I taken earlier on today at the same place. There is clearly no junction. The junction used to be about there. It's no longer there. And I looked for any evidence if there were like residue or any roadworks that have been done. I've took close-ups of the curbs. It's just pictures I taken earlier today. So this is the close-up. Now I did look very clearly and closely at the curbs. These are the old curbs. I know that the surface is a little different there, but there hasn't been any evidence of any junction ever being there, which makes it extremely odd, because I could clearly remember there used to be a high curb about there, well, roughly where that railing is. Yeah, roughly about where that railing was, and there is no any evidence. I took footage earlier, and it's old curbs that have been there roughly about the time they done these houses. This gets really interesting because the picture that I've taken shows residue. Google Map, there is actually, at once it looks as though there was a road end going there, because the camera van shows as blue, which is unusual because there isn't any junction there. And there's even something else that's odd I could show you also. To clarify, to show you that going up from the other side, it shows you a 14-year-old image. The new houses are on the right, but if you go down to the street view, it's 14-year-old. So I was just getting up to that point. Before that, I was a year old, the image, and that's just a straight road. So it suddenly jumps from a year to a 14-year-old image. And that's the, yeah, so I showed that the 14-year-old image. It was the student flats that were there. All that bit of the road, up there, a year ago. Right, and now it's just completely omitted all. That's the video that I'm actually playing back. Completely cut all that to a 14-year-old image. That's the junction that was there. And then I go down further, which I'm trying to do. So that junction, that's the junction that went to the student flats accommodation. I'll go to 7 years ago, which is like crazy. And then I'll go back down on the Tweed, where it'll be about a year ago, or 3 years ago or something, if it'll load. It's on a ridiculously slow, go slow. I don't know why the internet's carrying on the way it is, but it's on a real slow. No, it's 3 years ago. So I don't understand why it would, when there's only one. And that's going up from Dixon Avenue up Yarrow Terrace. So heading up to the road in question, it gets further up, but that's a year ago, right? It's 2024 today. It's 25th, well, it's July 2024 today, and that was updated a year ago. So it's been going up. It's going down, and it's a year, right? So I can only get a year. That's a year, right? And the road in question is just up there. It's 2024 now. The aerial view's up to date, which doesn't show any entrance like what I remember, because I do definitely remember an entrance you could turn right into that new housing estate. So it's just the way to question the entrance. It jumps to 14 years ago, when the blooming student for accommodation flats were there. I mean, come on, how come? So it goes up to a point where it just changes to 14 years. Missing out the bit in question. It's like it's sort of blocking it out for some strange reason. I don't know why that is, but it's very odd, peculiar. And there's actually something else that's quite odd as well. Like it's this here, this line here. It's sort of like it's kind of like, I don't know what that's about, but that's shown on the map as well. That's the aerial view, the bird's eye view, satellite view, and that's where the road end was. Where I remember roundabout there, and it's kind of like hinting that there used to be something there, but there wasn't. And that's what's odd. Why has it got that kind of like transparent line there as well? Which I find pretty bizarre, because the road did used to end. There used to be a junction end there, because I remember it was high curbs, bumping up on my bike, and it's like showing a hint that there used to be something there that never was, apparently. Because I mean, there's no any that I looked at the images. I took pictures of the curb, and it looked like there hasn't been any work done on it recently. And that 7-year-old image shows that there wasn't any junction there. Yeah, it was only recently I remember the junction being there, because I cycle it fairly regularly, now and again anyway, and it was only this afternoon that I discovered that there was no longer a junction there. So I find that really odd. It's like there's some sort of, it's like it's hinting there was something there, like in existence. Mandela effect residue means it's sort of like proof that something was that apparently never was. As history has changed, Mandela effect, like the history has changed, but that the residue is like something remaining, that like evidence that it was that it used to be that way. But if you look back now in this reality, that it was never that way, and it's like that on, that might be sort of like a bit of a residue, because it's shown there's a line there hinting that there used to be a junction there, but I clearly remember it. Regardless of all that, it doesn't really matter what's the phenomena or anything or any of that stuff. It doesn't matter. I remember in my mind clearly it was high curbs. I had difficulty bumping up and down it on my bike when I was crossing over for reasons that I would have done that. I was able just to cycle right along that pavement without any problem. I said, oh, that's odd. I was expecting that, to find that curb to go down, but it was away. That was like, and then I thought about it and said, that's a Mandela effect, because there's not been any work done recently on it. It looks like it's always been that way. And that 7-year-old image from Google shows, I could just make out that there's no any hint of a junction at all. Yet when I look on the bird's eye view, it shows on there that blue bit. Why would it just show a blue bit like that if there wasn't a junction? And that hint as well, that transparent bit that I just showed you, why would that be there? And why would it jump from an image as the Google images that's going up a year ago to update, going up Yarrow Terrace towards Tweed Crescent, and when it gets to the road end junction in question on the right, it jumps from a year ago image to a 14-year-old image where there is a junction, but it's when the student flats were all there many moons ago, and they've been demolished for years, about 10 years, or it wouldn't be 8 years or something, quite a while ago anyway. But that scheme was when he built about 7 years ago, 8 years ago. It was quite new, but now because of the Mandela effect, things have warped. The more I think about it now, 7 years ago does seem a bit long, because I'd take it back to 2017, which is a bit odd, because I thought, I'm beginning to just discover something now as I sit here and think about this. That 7-year-old image, I took footage of the student accommodation flats coming down. They were knocking them down to make room for these houses that are there now. So that was done before Hillside. Hillside was done in 2016, I think, and then Minnesota High School was 2017. No, Minnesota High School was done first, 2017, and Hillside was 2018, or thereabouts. So the house is since 2017. They've been there since 2017. That's, you know, I have to think about that. That's got me thinking of another thing now, because when I think about it, I didn't think the houses were that old. They're 7-year-old, but because history's changed, Mandela effect. You know, it's like when I say that, what's been referred to online anyway. There's a theory online that the consciousness, we're all consciousness, and our consciousness shifts from one reality to another, and the reality that was. I just said that so easily. I don't know. I don't know. I was thinking of something. I just kind of went on autopilot when I said that. I didn't really make it out just how significant that was. What I just said there. It was because I was kind of side distracted there. I just sort of went. I should have maybe took a step back. I like to think about just what I said there, because I'm not used to thinking that anyway. But yeah, there's a theory online about the Mandela effect, that our consciousness is shifting from one to another, where there was a reality where that was a road end junction, to another reality where there was never that road end junction. But the residue was residue as it is, that yeah, there's a hint that there was something like that before, like until updates or whatever's happening. If we're living in a simulator or Matrix or whatever, there's all sorts of theories that I've heard. To be honest, I don't know. What I do know for a fact is I could experience something. I have, and I've experienced many things that could be referred to as that mirrors, that resembles something that's referred to online as a Mandela effect. That I could say for a fact, because I know what I've experienced, and I know that I definitely, clearly remember a road at that. There was a road junction at that end. I think I made this video too long. This in-car series episode is going to be split into 2 parts because it's just too long, because I don't want to make the videos too long. So this will be part 1 in-car series, because it is in-car. I haven't done the usual driving, so it's slightly different. I was actually explaining about the Mandela effect. Part 2 will be probably just make it continuation, part 13, part 2 of episode 13 or something. Right, so that's the Mandela effect bit covered. I could still talk about it while I still do the actual driving, because I'm going to wait to get going somewhere, and I'll do the drive footage and do the usual format for the in-car series. Actually, it's better that it did take me a while, because that means it gives the traffic a chance to die down a bit. Oh, because I'm doing this in 2 parts, I better say, well, I just about forgot there. So that's the end of part 1 of episode 13 of season 3 of in-car series. I'll start that again. So that's the end of part 1 of episode 13 of my in-car series season 3. Right, see you in the next part if you want to watch it. It's the first time I've ever done an in-car series in 2 parts, by the way. It's just to short the videos down so they're not too long if we can help. Right, thanks for watching this part.